The Zarketh Imperial Command watched their tactical displays with predatory satisfaction. 2,000 drop pods screamed through the atmosphere of the human colony world of New Terra, each one packed with enough firepower to level a city block. Admiral Vexthar's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his species. "The humans will break," he hissed to his subordinates. "No species can withstand such overwhelming force." On the surface, Lieutenant Aliyah Chen stood atop the makeshift fortifications of Firebase Delta, binoculars pressed to her eyes as she tracked the incoming pods. The early morning sky was ablaze with re-entry fire, looking like a meteor shower designed by a particularly aggressive god. "Braden!" she called down to the Firebase's chief engineer. "Count?" Sergeant Braden Morrison looked up from his datapad, his weathered face breaking into a grin that would have terrified the Zarketh had they understood human expressions. 2012, give or take. Christmas came early this year, LT. Aliyah couldn't help but laugh. 3 months ago, when the Zarketh first arrived, demanding humanity's surrender, they'd made a critical error in judgment. They'd studied human military doctrine, analyzed human weapons, even decoded human tactical communications. What they hadn't bothered to study was human ingenuity or human stubbornness. The first pod crashed into the valley below, its impact shaking the ground. Then another, and another. Within minutes, the landscape was dotted with smoking craters and gleaming alien drop pods, each one a perfect cylinder of advanced Zarketh metallurgy. "Salvage teams, move out," Aliyah ordered, and the firebase erupted into organized chaos. Braden was already halfway down the hillside, his engineering crew close behind. The first pod they reached was still cooling, its surface etched with intricate alien script that none of them could read, and none of them cared to. What mattered was what was inside. "Plasma cores, just like the last batch," Braden reported over the comm, his voice barely containing his excitement. 48 of them, plus what looks like, yep, graviton emitters. The good ones, too. Aliyah watched from her vantage point as similar reports flooded in from across the colony. The Zarketh had meant these pods as ammunition for their assault weapons, as power sources for their war machines. They'd dropped them expecting their troops would retrieve and deploy them. There were no Zarketh troops coming. Not anymore. The aliens had learned that lesson 6 weeks ago when they'd sent their first wave of ground forces. Human guerrilla tactics, combined with weaponry reverse-engineered from previous supply drops, had turned the invasion into a massacre. The Zarketh had retreated to orbit, deciding to bomb the humans into submission instead. They just kept sending supplies. "LT, you're going to want to see this," Braden's voice crackled over her earpiece. She found him inside one of the larger pods, surrounded by crates. He held up a sleek rifle that seemed to hum with barely contained energy. "Is that a Zarketh plasma rifle, military grade? There's 200 of them in here, plus ammunition packs." Braden's grin was wolfish. "And that's not even the best part. Check this out." He led her to another crate. Inside, nestled in protective foam, were communication arrays, Zarketh military-grade encryption devices. "They dropped their own comms equipment on us," Aliyah breathed, the implications washing over her. "We can listen to everything they're saying." "Better than that," Braden said. "We can talk back." 3 hours later, Aliyah sat in the Firebase's command center, now upgraded with Zarketh technology. The translation software, another gift from a previous drop, had improved significantly with each new batch of hardware. She took a deep breath and opened a channel to the Zarketh flagship. "Admiral Vexithar, this is Lieutenant Aliyah Chen of the Human Colonial Defense Force. We wanted to thank you for the recent supply drop. 2,000 pods. Very generous." The silence that followed was profound. Then, a strangled hiss came through the speakers. "You! You dare mock the Zarketh Empire? Mock? Not at all, Admiral. We're genuinely grateful. The plasma cores have been particularly useful. We've integrated them into our defensive grid. Our shields are now running at 200% capacity. Aaliyah paused, enjoying herself more than she probably should. Oh, and the rifles? Beautiful craftsmanship. We've already begun production of compatible ammunition using the fabricators from your drop last week. Impossible! Those pods were encrypted, locked with encryption that my engineer, Sergeant Braden Morrison, cracked in about 40 minutes. Honestly, Admiral, you might want to update your security protocols. They're a bit outdated. Braden, listening from across the room, gave her a thumbs up while simultaneously directing a team installing a newly acquired Zarketh shield generator. "This is an outrage," Vexathar sputtered. "You are primitives! You should be cowering in fear!" Aaliyah leaned back in her chair. "Here's the thing, Admiral. Humans have this saying, one person's trash is another person's treasure. Every bomb you drop on us, every weapon, every piece of technology, we learn from it, adapt it, improve it. You've basically been conducting the most comprehensive technology transfer in human history." She pulled up a holographic display showing the colony's defenses. What had been a struggling outpost 3 months ago was now a fortress bristling with hybrid human Zarketh technology. "We've established a thriving economy based entirely on recycling your attacks. There are children in New Terra City who've started a business collecting shrapnel and selling it to fabrication plants. They're making a killing, figuratively speaking, of course." "This is not over," Vexthar growled. "We will obliterate you from orbit." "You could try," Aaliyah said pleasantly. "But that's a lot of expensive hardware to waste on a planet that's already kicking your ass with the stuff you've given us. Besides, we've been reverse engineering your orbital bombardment targeting systems from the pods. We know exactly when and where you're planning to fire. How do you think we keep moving our important facilities out of the blast zones?" Another long silence. Aaliyah could almost hear the Admiral's mandibles grinding. "So here's our counteroffer," she continued. "You can keep dropping supplies. We'll keep sending thank you notes. Or you can leave. Those are really your only options at this point, because a ground assault isn't happening and your orbital strikes keep missing anything important." Braden walked over and handed her a data pad. She glanced at it and smiled. "Oh, and Admiral, we just decoded the manifest for your next supply drop. Fusion reactors? You really shouldn't have. We'll put them to good use, I promise." The channel went dead. Braden slumped into the chair next to her. "Think he'll actually leave?" Aaliyah watched the orbital display, where the Zarketh fleet was maintaining position. "Eventually, pride will keep them here a while longer, dropping more attacks that will turn into infrastructure. But sooner or later, someone in their command is going to do the math and realize they're not conquering a colony, they're funding it." "Humans are weird," Braden said, echoing the sentiment that had spread across a dozen alien species since humanity joined the galactic community. "Weird, stubborn, and really good at making the best of a bad situation," Aaliyah agreed. She raised an imaginary glass. "To Admiral Vexthar, the most generous benefactor New Terra has ever had." Braden laughed. "Should we actually send a thank you note?" Aaliyah considered it. "Why not? Let's make it official. Maybe include a request list for the next drop. We could use more graviton emitters." As the sun set over New Terra, the firebase hummed with activity. Salvage teams continued processing the day's haul, engineers integrated new systems, and somewhere in the command center, Aaliyah drafted the most passive-aggressive thank you letter in human history. Above, the Zarketh fleet prepared another bombardment, unknowingly ensuring that the human colony they sought to destroy would be the most advanced, well-armed settlement in 3 sectors. Humanity had always been good at improvising. The Zarketh were just the latest to learn that lesson the hard way.